Hello everyone and welcome back. I am Duke Silver, and today I'm going to be recapping my experience with our first retro review bracket winner, DuckTales, for the NES. DuckTales, as made clear by its winning of our bracket, is a lot of people's favorite childhood game. Before this, I'd never played it, but I have to say I had a blast with this playthrough. I even went and got most of the retro achievements for the game done. Once you start the game, you're presented with a choice of 5 different stages, which you can do in any order. There's no mechanics to unlock or traversal items to find. You have every tool at your disposal right from the jump. Although this toolbox is limited to a pogo stick and a golf club, you know, 2 things every billionaire has on them at any given time. The pogo stick is a lot of fun, the movement is fluid and bouncy, and I was very happy just bouncing all over the place. The golf club is not as intuitive and also has a way more limited use case, although whacking a rock into a suspended box is pretty satisfying. The game is littered with secrets, some well hidden, some not so much. Most of these only yield extra money to run up your score, which, just like in most games of the era, doesn't matter too much. I did find out after I'd beaten the game a couple times though that you can actually spend $3 million to recover your health, which I do believe is a reference to the American healthcare system. Alright, let's start with the Amazon, the top option at stage select. This game is from the 80s, so the deforestation of the rainforest isn't quite as widespread, but there are several stumps scattered throughout the level which contain precious gems, of course. I mean, why else would they be trying to cut them all down? We pogo past the local fauna, including giant spiders and generic brand Donkey Kongs, until we find Launchpad, who offers to give us a ride back to the stage select. I assume this is to bank some money, but I didn't find it particularly useful. Although it is cool to see familiar characters from the cartoon making cameos. Eventually we find our way to the Amazon boss, which is a living statue whom we just have to pogo on a few times to dispatch. Nice and easy. Next up we find ourselves in Transylvania, a bigger list of enemies here, including all the classics. We've got Duck Skeleton, ghosts, and these beefy mummies. The place is littered with enormous headstones and sets of armor whose head shoots off at you if you hit it with a stick. There are a few illusory walls, one of which leads to the area's boss, which is another cameo from the cartoon, Magica Dispel. And to be honest, I think she's the hardest boss in the game. Maybe not the hardest, but you definitely need the most patience. Unless you get the timing just right on her spellcast, you have to wait for her to fly at a low enough altitude to pogo on. I swear it can take up to 5 minutes before she decides to fly low enough to hit her. It feels like she's intentionally running out the clock. Aside from that though, I think this is the level I enjoy the most aesthetically. African Mines. You get a bit of a fake out the first time here, as one of Scrooge's triplet grandnephews tells him he needs a key from Transylvania, which you can't get the first time you go through Transylvania. You get teleported back to a mostly empty version, and there's a new mirror portal opened up. Fortunately, it is right near the start, but you do need to come through the portal from the other side, then re-enter it to find your key chest. Now that we have the key, we can actually get into the mines. Some interesting platforming in this one, and a few cool gimmicks along the way. Jumping off of enemies that are hiding off screen, and getting flung across the level by a catapult were both pretty fun. We then find ourselves fighting a Mole King. This boss was frustrating the first couple times. If you time it wrong, he will hit you after you hit him just about every time. But once you learn the timing, he's actually quite easy. Level 4, the Himalayan Mountains. Wouldn't be an NES platformer without an ice or water level. My biggest complaint is that I can't pogo on the snow. It's the most fun thing to do, but if you try it, you'll sink right into the snow. Which also made these aggressive mountain goats a bit of a nightmare to deal with at first. Although it did force me to learn to not just pogo everything, I suppose. Once you get into the underground and can pogo once more, things get a little bit easier. You just have to fight your way past the mighty ducks, not get crushed by a boulder, and the path to the boss is pretty clear. Also, this boss has to be the easiest one in the game. He moves really slowly and his attacks are super easy to read, which is surprising because this is supposed to be the second to last level. Alright, the final stage available at stage select is the moon. One of the advantages of being obscenely wealthy is I guess you can just go to the moon like it's no big deal. Also, one would assume gravity might be slightly different on the moon, but it isn't, and Scrooge is just openly breathing the air, which leads me to believe that this isn't really the moon. This stage in a video game from 1989 is fake. This is a soundstage in Roswell, New Mexico. Wake up, sheeple. Hit the like button to let the government know that we know this stage is a hoax. Anyways, Gizmo Duck shows up, blows up a barrier, then you fight a rat. You know, regular Moon stuff. After all 5 stages are complete, we get all our treasure stolen and get sent back to Transylvania for a 3rd time. There, in the same boss room, we fought Magica, and we now have to take on Count Duckula, or Dracula Duck, but I think I like Count Duckula better. This is not a particularly hard fight, just requires a bit of patience, and you have to figure out how to manipulate the bats he throws at you. Once Duckula is down, Magica returns in her bird form carrying Flintheart Glomgold, and you have to race to the treasure chest. Not really sure what happens if they get there first, as it's just climbing up a rope, and nearly impossible to fail, but once you get there, that triggers the end of the game. Scrooge McDuck remains the richest duck in the world. That was the whole impetus for this game. Scrooge couldn't handle going from a billionaire to a slightly less rich billionaire. I guess the stakes for this game were extraordinarily low. Most games you save the world or a princess, but nope, we're just preserving wealth in this one. Anyhow, that concludes our adventures with DuckTales. Again, I did have a blast at this game and can't wait to dive into our next bracket winner, which was just decided on May 26th, which is going to be Alundra for the original PlayStation. If you want to submit a retro game for future brackets, feel free to leave it in the comments or join the Discord and post it under retro review suggestions. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want to follow along with our retro reviews. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.